And yes, I am a Paul Heyman guy. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second. I'm sending this out to every platform. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special edition of the Master of the Mat. I am your. Hold on. That's a lot better. Welcome to this special edition of Master of the Mat. I am your host, Anthony the Origin Bryant, and this afternoon we're going to talk about. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about the black groups in wrestling that were supposed to fail, racism in professional wrestling, and we're going to talk about the New Day. We're going to talk about Junkyard Dogs Mid-South World Championship run over Ron Simmons' National Championship run. We're going to talk about the NWO, how if it wasn't for the NWO, that there would be no DX, there would be no Bullet Club or anything else around here. So let's jump right into it because I'm going to get things off. I'm going to talk about um, Junkyard Dog and Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons gets the Ron Simmons gets the credit for being the first black world heavyweight champion, and rightfully deserves it. But what people don't know is, well, 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. So what people don't know is that Ron Simmons was a transitional champion, just like Sami Zayn was, just like um. There's been a lot of transitional champions in wrestling. Like, okay, I'm gonna give a prime example. Back in the old Mid South era, when Bill Watts ran Mid South Wrestling, along with JR as the head booker and the head of talent relations, Bill Watts made the decision to make JYD his top wrestler in the company, giving JYD the Mid South Heavyweight Championship and making him the first black champion of a regional company. Bill Watts was not the most popular man for doing that, but he put JYD on the map. Okay, and in all reality, JYD was the first black world champion, and it takes nothing away from Ron Simmons and what he did in WCW, but JYD was the first black world champion, and you look at what JYD has done when he was champion, the guys he stepped up against. He took on all comers in feud with the Freebirds down south, his feud with Ted DiBiase down south. I mean, JYD has some legendary feuds. Then when he came up to the main stage, like WWE or at the time WWF and WCW, they really didn't know how to use JYD because here he is in a sold out arena, Pontiac Silverdome, WrestleMania 3, and he loses to Harley Race. And that should have been the biggest stage of JYD's career because JYD should have went in WrestleMania and he should have won that match, but he didn't. Okay, he lost that match. Now that's and resting and RIP the Junkyard Dog. He had a hell of a career, former WCW6. 1 second. Oh, okay. JYD had a hell of a career, so RIP to JYD. Flip side, let's talk about Ron Simmons. It was Ron Simmons was a transitional champion. A lot of people don't know that because it was built for Big Van Vader and Sting in Baltimore. Sting was taken out when Jake the Snake Roberts DDT Sting and caused them to have a concussion. So Bill Watts had a rifle, and Ron Simmons run that rifle and went on to defeat Vader in Baltimore to become the very first recognizable black African American world heavyweight champion ever when he beat Vader in Baltimore to win a championship like Ron did in WCW. It set the stage for what was to come. Because Ron Simmons at that time, he was just known for his tag team ability with Doom. And you look at what Ron Simmons did outside of being a tag team wrestling. Yeah, he was a world champion, but he was a transitional champion because during his 150-day run as WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Ron did not main event one pay-per-view from WCW because the good old boys that sat on the seat in WCW didn't see Ron Simmons as a main event player. They didn't see Ron Simmons as a top dog. So for 150 days, Ron Simmons' title reign was like it was how can I put this? Watered down. Because for Ron Simmons to go out there and to wrestle guys like Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Cactus Jack, the Barbarian, the Missing Link, people like that, and to make those matches a main event, like Ron made those matches the main event, then when he have an opportunity to get a real run with the World Championship against Lex Luger, you make Ron Simmons lose to Lex Luger. There's nothing wrong with losing to Lex Luger, but Lex Luger had no reason, had no right to defeat a All-American, a All-Pro, a Heisman Trophy runner-up like Ron Simmons. And then you talk about when Ron Simmons come to WWF, Vince McMahon and WWF had a habit of this. When if WWF didn't make you, they was going to try to bring you down and make you less of what you was in your old company. So when Vince brought him, when he signed to WWF, Vince McMahon had this goofy ass headgear. He comes in, he becomes Farouk Hassan. He had this goofy ass headgear, his goofy ass outfit, like he was a black gladiator. He would wrestle with that on. And to me, it was like a mockery of Ron Simmons' career. And I don't know, a lot of people, a lot of wrestling historians probably don't feel that way, but it was. And then he wrestled for that for a few months. Then he came back. He dropped the Hassan, came out there with Clarence Mason, was it PG-13, whatever the hell that those white boys are called. They put him with PG-13. Then they put him with then you mockery. You put him with Savio Vega, who's a Puerto Rican, and you put him with Crush, and you call them the Nation of Domination. How is that called the Nation of Domination when in fact the only black wrestler in that group was Ron Simmons? Now Savio Vega and Crush, yes, Crush came on board in WWF when he was he's known for coming on board as the third member of Demolition. So he joined Axe and Smash and became Axe, Smash, and Crush Demolition. Okay, Savio Vega came on when Scott Hall brought him in when he was known as Razor Ramon in WWF. So you have a Puerto Rican, you have a white guy, and you have two white guys jumping around talking like they black. PG-13. That was the name of the tag team. Then Ron Simmons finally broke away from all that when he fired Crush, when he fired PG-13, when he fired Savio Vega, Clarence Mason, and he kept D'Lo Brown. And he rebuilt the Nation to his likeness. So when he rebuilt the Nation of Domination, he kept D'Lo from the original Nation. He brought in Kama Mustafa, who would later go on to be called the Godfather. For a short while, he brought in Ahmed Johnson, who did not fit with that group because he didn't want to fit in. But if he would have fit in, if he would have fit in like he was supposed to fit in, that would have made his career. But he didn't. So they kick Ahmed Johnson out, and they bring in a young up-and-comer Rocky Maivia. From that point on, Rocky Maivia would transition from Rocky Maivia to The Rock. Coming in, Rock brings in Mark Henry to the Nation of Domination, the world's strongest man, and the rest is history. So you got Farouk, D'Lo, Rocky Maivia, and Mark Henry, 5 members of the Nation. And you got Ron Simmons, Farouk, leading this group. Now I want you to I want y'all to think about something. I want you to think about something. And the Nation of Domination, the first black group, that group was supposed to fail because of the way WWF had it set up with Crush and Savio Vega, PG-13. Yeah, that group was supposed to fail, but it didn't fail. It prospered because if you look at all the Hall of Famers that came out of that group, Ron Simmons, Kama Mustafa, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. All 3 of those guys are Hall of Fame superstars. And if you look at what they have achieved, look at Kama Mustafa, the Godfather's resume. A former Intercontinental champion. He became a legend when he defeated Goldust to win his first and only Intercontinental champion. He was a tag team champion with Bull Buchanan when he was known as the Godfather. It still counts, same person, different name. Okay. Then you look at Mark Henry. Even though he was given the European Championship, okay, he was given the European Championship, but on the same token, hold on, y'all. Oh, he was given the European Championship, but then he went out there and he won the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Then he beat Randy Orton at Night of Champions to become the World Heavyweight Champion. Then you look at Ron Simmons, 3-time WWE, WWF World Tag Team Champion with Bradshaw. He's a former WCW NWA Tag Team Champion with Butch Reed, or should I say the natural Butch Reed, as Dome. And he won the WCW United States Tag Team Championship with I forgot his name, but he was United States Tag Team Champion. And you can't forget about his the becoming the very first black WCW World Heavyweight Champion, which he did, and he made history of. Okay, and for a long time, WCW would not have a black world champion. The next black WCW world champion will be Booker T. And the only reason Booker T won that championship is because Hulk Hogan and Vince Russo could not see eye to eye. The night of Bash at the Beach, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan using his creative control, I don't think Booker T would have been World Heavyweight Champion. Okay? And it was said that the night Booker T won that World Heavyweight Championship, Kevin Nash had some disparaging remarks about Booker T. He was like, oh no, this uppity black boy is not going to become champion. Now, this is what Dave Meltzer and other people said that Kevin Nash said. This uppity black boy won't be world champion for long. Booker T will go down in history as the final WCW World Heavyweight Champion. A lot of people say The Rock. No, it's Booker T. Because the man that was the world champion the night Nitro closed his doors for the last time is the recognizable last WCW World Heavyweight Champion in my book. And that's Booker T. You look at what Booker T has done since coming to WWF, WWE, Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion, Tag Team Champion, King of the Ring, world heavyweight champion. He's a two-time Hall of Famer, once as a solo act and another one as a member of Harlem Heat. So yeah, Booker T has had a fantastic career, 6-time world champion. Okay, but in the same token, Ron Simmons set the standard, set the groundwork for Booker T to do that. And let's talk about groups. Let's talk about groups that was never supposed to make it. Let's talk about groups that was doomed to fail. I already talked about one group already. It's Nation of Domination. They were never supposed to have make it, and I stand on that 100%. The Nation was never, because the way it was set up, you had a Puerto Rican, you had a white guy. Then you add two more white guys with PG-13. The Nation was not supposed to make it, but the Nation made it. Okay? Then let's talk about the New Day. The New Day was never supposed to make it. Never. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, Big E, they was never supposed to make it, but they did. You know why? Because of creative control, not creative control, creative gave them the ball and they ran with it. Knew they got so damn big, they created Booty-O's. They created their own damn cereal. After a while, I wasn't surprised they came out with their own damn. I'm sorry, with their own damn pancake syrup. I was looking for them to come out with pancakes, but the New Day made it. They made it, and you look at how accomplished the New Day was. Xavier, Kofi Kingston, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT Tag Team Champions. Big E, NXT Champion and WWE Champion. Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, man. The New Day wasn't supposed to make it. The WWE had already given up on New Day before New Day even made his debut, because they had no faith in a 3-man team going out there and being so entertaining like they was. They wasn't supposed to make it. They wasn't supposed to be as big. They wasn't supposed to be as hot as they was. They wasn't supposed to hold those tag team titles as long as they did, because the New Day showed everybody what black excellence is in professional wrestling, and they did it with the longest reigning tag team champions. Come on, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how. Let's talk about how wrestling this day, people don't understand the basis of what groups was designed to make it but didn't make it. What group was designed to not make it but made it. Let's talk about it. Let's clap back and let's talk about how Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, Cedric Alexander was never supposed to be as good as they were. Let's talk about how Bobby Lashley was never supposed to be a main event star in WWE. Let's talk about how WWE shut out MVP. Let's talk about how WWE shut out Shelton Benjamin. Let's talk about how WWE took a great cruiserweight like Cedric Alexander, and when he was a cruiserweight champion on 205 Live, they gave him a fucked up schedule. They gave him a championship matches that he that they knew that he couldn't do, but he overcame the odds and became one of the best damn cruiserweights in WWE history. Let's talk about how WWE took a natural-born athlete like Shelton Benjamin, who will go on to become the gold standard, but yet WWE refused to put a world title on this man when we thought he was going to beat Christian at TLC for the ECW World Championship. He didn't. He lost to Christian. So let's talk about how WWE pulled the rug from MVP as one of the longest reigning United States champion of all time in WWE on SmackDown, putting him with Matt Hardy to become a tag team champion, then making this man lose match after match after match after match after match after match. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how Bobby Lashley was never designed to be a champion in WWE. It just happened by accident. Well, I'm going to spill the beans on everything right now. The night Bobby Lashley won the United States Championship from JBL on SmackDown, it wasn't supposed to be Bobby Lashley. The man they wanted to win the championship showed up and was unable to compete. So they gave the championship to Bobby Lashley. That's why Bobby Lashley lost the belt in a short span of time to Fit Finlay, who had no right defeating Bobby Lashley. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how the Almighty was on the role of his life during the pandemic, but was not given an opportunity at the WWE Championship. Why? Because it was all about Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. And I'm a McIntyre fan, but let's talk about it. McIntyre, as the WWE champion during the pandemic, he sucked. Taking the title off of McIntyre and putting it on The Miz was the best move WWE did, because it allowed us to see Bobby Lashley win the WWE Championship. Let's talk about it. Wrestling historians want to talk about how with WWE made these guys know. WWE had no design for Bobby Lashley to make it. They had no design for Shelton Benjamin to make it. They had no design for Cedric Alexander to make it. They had no design for MVP to make it. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E, they wasn't supposed to make it, but they made themselves make it because WWE did not back New Day. They had to back their damn self. Let's talk about it. Then in present day, you sign them to a brand new contract. Then after they sign their contract, you go to them and say, hey, how about take a 50% cut so we can bring in new guys so you guys can put over? How dare you go to one of the greatest tag teams of all time and ask them to take a fucking pay cut because your dumbasses can't do money right? How dare you, Paul Levesque, go to them and tell them, well, you guys ain't putting over tag teams like you supposed to. How dare you? How dare you tell Kofi Kingston that his world championship run in WWE championship, I might add, was not worth a cup of coffee in today's modern wrestling? How dare you? No, they're not a part of the Samoan dynasty. No, they're not a part of McMahon dynasty, but they are. Kofi Kingston made a name for himself when he defeated Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever they want to call him, at WrestleMania to make himself famous. How dare you? How dare you? go to Kofi and Xavier Woods and expect them to take a pay cut after they already signed their contract. And I hope they show up at All In and shove it down your throat Sunday. See, this is why black wrestlers have been mistreated in WWE and WCW. But yet instead, these groups that wasn't supposed to make it, they made it. The Hurt Business sold more merchandise because of the T-shirts than any other. Then sold more merchandise than what they were supposed to sell in their first week together. The New Day sold more merchandise than any faction alive. The WWE wanted them to take a pay cut. How dare you, Paul Levesque? How dare you, Nick something, ask them to take a pay cut? How about you guys take a pay cut? How dare you? You wind the states back a long time ago. Let's talk about a guy in WWE. Let's talk about a guy who wrestled for WWE and WWE making him a joke. He goes by the name of Ron the Truth Killings. He's also he's the first black NWA World Heavyweight Champion. So from the assumption of that title all the way until 2002 or 2004, Ron Killings was the very first black NWA World Champion. Come on, man. And this is wrestling, right? This is how black people are being treated in wrestling. Then I was watching some Yahoo on TikTok earlier today, and he made the statement how the groups out here today, they wouldn't be made if it wasn't for the groups that was. But no, what he said was the NWO did nothing to foundation the factions there is right now. First of all, let's get something straight before you mention the NWO. Know what you're talking about. Second of all, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the NWO. Let's talk about how if it wasn't for the NWO, there would be no D-Generation X. Let's talk about how if it wasn't for the NWO, there would be no Bullet Club. Let's talk about how this was made famous because of the NWO. Let's talk about how this was made famous first because of the Clique. Let's talk about how if it wasn't for the Clique, then the NWO, there would be no factions. Let's talk about how if it wasn't for Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Triple H, Sean Waltman, there would be no NWO. There would be no D-Generation X. Let's talk about how back when the NWO was being talked about and Eric Bischoff, yes, he took the idea from New Japan and he took the idea from New Japan and he made his own idea of it. But let's talk about how the best decision they made was to put Hulk Hogan in the NWO. Why? Because when Hogan left WWF, Hogan was getting booed. The man was booed out of the arena. He was getting booed at Clash of Champions. He was getting booed at Halloween Havoc. He was getting booed at Starrcade. The best decision Hulk Hogan made, and I know a lot of people are going to say Hogan's a racist, but that's your opinion. The man made a mistake. The man apologized for it. Let him rest in peace behind it. Racist or not, he apologized for it. He apologized for it. He gave his life to Christ. Leave him alone. But the best decision WCW did make was when they put Hulk Hogan in the NWO. Sting was supposed to be the man. No, it was Hogan. Hogan put the NWO on the map. Because you take a man who was all about saying your prayers, saying your vitamins, okay, training, going through all that, coming out with the red and yellow on. Then he comes out and he legs drops Randy Savage, and he makes the iconic quote, "You can call this the new world order of wrestling." Hogan set the foundation of what wrestling is. And if it wasn't for the NWO, there would not be a D-Generation X. There would not be a Bullet Club. There would not be a Empower. Empower. Hold up. There would not be the groups you have today. New Day, Hurt Business, whatever. The NWO set the foundation on what factions is supposed to be. Did it get too damn big? Yeah, it got too damn big. But you know what? It worked. It set the foundation on what wrestling is supposed to be. Sting would not have worked as the third man. Why? Because WCW built Sting. They made Sting. That third man needed to be an outsider. Somebody WCW did not make. So for the fact is, when Hogan came out and dropped that leg on Randy Savage, that set the tone for what the NWO was supposed to be and what it was, because the NWO became one of the greatest factions in professional wrestling. Did it kill WCW? No. Vince Russo killed WCW. That's who killed WCW, was Vince Russo. I'm just speaking how I feel. All I'm saying is this. And I'm going to wrap this up. I didn't plan on being on here long anyway, but I'm going to wrap it up. Back in the day, black wrestlers, black factions didn't last long. But now you got black wrestlers making history. JYD, the very first Mid-South World Heavyweight Champion. Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk, the very first. What the? Look at that. My dang going. Testing. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Look at this. My headset don't even want me to tell you the truth. Come on, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, people. JYD, the first black Mid-South World Champion. Ron Simmons, the first black WCW World Champion. Ron the Truth Killings, the first black NWA World Champion. These three pioneers of wrestling became the first black champions in professional wrestling. And you know what? You can't forget about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the first black, even though he's half black, half Samoan, but he was the first black WWF champion. Let's talk about it. Black wrestlers, black factions. If WWE didn't make you, they weren't going to push you. That's all I'm going to say. This has been an edition of the Master of the Mat. My name is Anthony, the Origin Bryant. I will be back, or I will try to come back Sunday if I'm not busy. Thank y'all for watching this edition of the Master of the Mat. And yeah, thank y'all for watching. Until we meet again, I'll leave you with this. Hold on. No, that's not what I want. I like country music. I like country girls. I like Willie Nelson. And don't forget about Pearl. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. I like Major Grayson and Richard Petty's still the king. Well, they call me a redneck, but you know that's a beautiful thing. There's only one thing that I hate, it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. There's only one thing that I hate, but it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. Rap is crap. Rap is crap. All right. I got one more before I go. I like country music. I love country girls. I like Willie Nelson. And don't forget about Pearl. There's only one thing that I hate. It's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. I like NASCAR racing. Richard Petty's still the king. Well, they call me a redneck, but you know that's a beautiful thing. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. Rap is crap. Rap is crap. All right, everybody, I'm out of here.